جدد المداد يا الله اسقينا بالمداد يا الله. And make the sunshine or make it rain. And as this is not impossible, well, then you just have to be pleased with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you. But on the other hand, very soon Ramadan will be over, and then we will be talking about good weather. We are happy that the sun is shining. But subhanAllah, today, when I saw the sun shining like she is today, and I saw people talking about good weather, finally good weather, I was reminded of a hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A hadith where he says that hellfire felt that it was too hot inside of her. She said, like, I'm burning myself. Like my flames are burning the other flames. It's too hot. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed hellfire to breathe out twice, to exhale twice a year. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, so when the heat is at its extremist, and the cold as well, because in Jahannam, it's not only heat, it is also cold, zamharir. So now, the Prophet ﷺ said, when the weather is at its hottest or at its coldest, then actually hell is exhaling. So we are actually walking through the heat of hell today. Not to discourage you or to ruin your pleasure of, a sunny, happy day, but this is how we look at things. This is the dimension through which a Muslim looks at life. And this dimension for us is true. We don't doubt. So anyway, to come back, as Khayyam just said, after Ramadan, inshallah, tabarak wa ta'ala, I will be teaching here quite a lot. And I will be teaching different kinds of programs, being it the Ijaza program in Quran for adults, where we will be going over the Quran, Hifd al-Quran, the Qira'at. There will be Arabic, there will be Aqidah, there will be spirituality, and so much more. So, bi-idhnillahi azza wa jal, we are going to do together as much as we can to have a structured path to eventually climb the ladder of knowledge, inshallah azza wa jal. But I can't say this without saying that I will be truly honored to be sitting in front of people like yourself. And I don't say this to appear humble, or this is not a fake expression of gratitude. I really mean this. Because I've been here for 2 years and a half, and to be quite frank, I rarely see this amount of good people coming all together just to hear about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Sunnah, and then the scholars and so much more. So now let us go back to 5 times. What is 5 times? Well, when you say a Muslim 5 times, of course, he immediately thinks about prayer. 2 years and a half ago, I was looking for a structured prayer course. When I say structured, I mean from the beginning to the end, answering all the questions and teaching me how to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through my prayer. Because every prayer, which we need to know, is that every prayer is supposed to be transformative. This is something I said when I was here last time. Prayer transforms you. So if you are not being transformed through your prayers, you are not praying the prayer. You are talking the talk, but you're not walking the walk. That's it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very clear that prayer, تَنْهَا عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, that prayer will keep you away from al-fahsha and munkar, yani bad, evil outward and inward behavior. So this is why the scholars say, every prayer you pray, after every prayer you pray, you should feel inspired. After every prayer you pray, you should feel that you're a different person. It can be that you just go to your prayer, you pray, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, you're in your prayer, and you come back to your family, your wife or your husband, and they say, Allahu Akbar, you've changed. What has happened? Your face is shining. You are filled with energy and positivity. You are filled with spirituality. What's going on? You're more patient, more generous. You say, well, I've prayed. This is the kind of prayer that we are talking about. And this is the kind of prayer that we should try to create in our lives. Because too many people, we held a query, too many people 75% of the people just pray because they want to tick the boxes. It's just about, I'm a Muslim, I have to pray. Okay, Dhuhr, Fajr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Yeah, I said Dhuhr, Fajr, of course, first Fajr. So Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Witr, done. Alhamdulillah, I'm a Muslim now. And this is how people look at prayer. The minority of Muslims, and we need, in Belgium it's an expression, you need to call a cat a cat. Do you say this in English? No, you don't. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You have to call a cat, meaning you have to say it like it is. So the majority of Muslims do not enjoy praying. I'm sorry, maybe you do, so don't feel offended. But the majority of Muslims, they don't say, yes, prayer. They just say, okay, it's time to pray. How many minutes have I got left? Okay, 50. I will pray in 10 minutes. That's the way people go around with prayer. And when they then pray, well, they're not into their prayers. They're into their rent, into their holiday, into their what will I cook tonight, or into what will she cook tonight, or he cook tonight. That's what's going on in prayer. The only reason why we are distracted within prayer is because we do not enjoy prayer sufficiently. Because if you enjoy something, you forget about everything. Take your child to the zoo for the first time in his life, he will forget his own name. Like, what's your name? A giraffe. No, what's your name? He will be distracted because he's focused. Distracted from everything else. And this is what is happening when you say Allahu Akbar. You're entering into a new world. You're entering into a world where you will connect to someone who is not submitted to time and place. You are getting connected to your maker, to the creator of the universe and the Lord and the sustainer of all. Is this the feeling we have? I talk about myself sometimes. I might be talking about you sometimes. But very often, this is not the case. So what is going on? What is happening? Why aren't we enjoying prayer and looking forward to prayer or getting out of prayer as much as we should be? Well, because there is no clear structure. We became a Muslim, or myself, the majority of you didn't become a Muslim, or you started learning your religion, and the first thing that you did was actually just you started praying. And that was it. But nobody told you how to overcome the obstacles between yourself and connecting to Allah. Nobody gave you or handed over to you the keys which are necessary to establish this beautiful prayer. So I went online and I had a look. And subhanAllah, what caught my attention was the Alpha prayer course. The 24/7 prayer course, which had more than 10 million or something people subscribed to it. I said, Allahu Akbar. I just read. Then when I opened it, it was Christian prayer. And they were so sophisticated. They were so organized. They were so clear. Their structure was like, if we were to turn it into something Islamic, the basics were there. We just need, of course, to change a lot of things. But I mean, the way that they presented it attracted so many youngsters and elder people and adults and so much more. So this is where me, myself, after having held this query, where the majority of people say, I just pray to tick the boxes, I'm distracted during my prayer, I don't understand what I'm saying. When I say Subhan Rabbil A'la in my sujood and Subhan Rabbil Azim in my ruku', I don't know why I say this there and that there. How is everything connected? What is the meaning of ruku' actually? Bowing down, prostrating. So I told myself that one of the things I want to do in life is to revive prayer. To revive prayer. We can revive so many things. But the Prophet ﷺ said that the last thing which will disappear from this community is prayer. And the first thing he said is khushu'. What is khushu'? It means dedication or submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with concentration. He said this is the first thing which will disappear, and the last thing is salah. Meaning, if we connect the dots, that the reason why prayer is disappearing is because there is no khushu' in prayer. If there would have been khushu' in prayer, like you feel the connection being established between you and Allah Jalla wa Ala, then prayer wouldn't disappear. Why are people ready to watch the Champions League 10 minutes in advance? They're there. They don't want to miss a minute. They're ready with their flags, with their, with their rival, with their enemies of another football team. They sit together and they're ready. Because loving is being ready before you are being called. Loving is being ready before you are being called. And this is why the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that one of the people who will sit in the shadow of the day of judgment, on the day of judgment, is رَجُلٌ قَلْبُهُ مُعَلَّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِدِ, a man whose heart is attached to what? To the mosque. Well, Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he said something amazing about this hadith, because now the women can say, okay, so what's in it for me then? If it's just for a man whose heart is attached to the mosque. The majority of times I pray at home. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah said in Fath al-Bari, in the second volume, page 383, he said, and this hadith is also for women. He said, for as long as women have their prayer space at home, which they call musalla. He said, so if a woman has a musalla at home, it's a particular space. It's very important for sisters to do this. It's a space in your house that you use always to pray. Prayer mat, your tasbih, your subha, if you do it without, then without. Your prayer garment, a bit of perfume you like to wear when you pray. And there is the place where you always pray. During Ramadan, according to some fuqaha, not all of them, a woman, a lady is even allowed to perform i'tikaf there. So she has the ajr, the reward for the i'tikaf like men have in the mosque. Is that clear? So the Prophet ﷺ said, a man whose heart is attached to prayer or the mosque, but it is also a woman who's looking forward to prayer. But who looks forward to prayer? I'm sorry to say this. Maybe you do, but believe me, majority doesn't. Like it's Dhuhr, and you can't wait until it's Asr. Now you're saying, aren't you exaggerating, Sulayman? Aren't you exaggerating? Like, are there people like this? Yes, of course there are. And very often we think that we are living in a weak community because we think that everybody has the same state as we do. So we say, no, people are not like that. Maybe all the people are like that, but not you, not me. You see? So yes, looking forward to prayer is something which has died. And the reason why is because we are suffering from what we call prayerlessness. Prayerlessness, what does it mean? Either that you don't pray, or either that you don't pray all the 5 prayers, or either that you join between prayers, or either that within your prayers you don't find Allah. It is very strange. People say, I want to connect to Allah. And they're looking everywhere, but not in their prayers. If it doesn't happen in your prayer, it will happen. It will never happen. You can't be connected to Allah through anything else if you don't connect to Him through prayer. People say, okay, I'm trying through the Quran. I'm trying through fasting. I'm trying this, that. Your 5 prayers are your trampoline to get connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, I saw this Alpha course, Christian prayer course, and I said, Ya Rabbi. And then I felt inspired by Allah, not by Christianity. And I said, why don't we Muslims try to do the same? Help one another to establish prayer, to transform our prayers, to be transformed through our prayers, to enjoy praying, to enjoy meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is when I, in 2017, started reading all the books I had about prayer, Muslim books of course. So I started reading them, and also all scriptures that were written like 500, 600 years ago, gathering manuscripts, and then trying to compile something which I called Divine Connection, the Art of Prayer. Divine Connection, the Art of Prayer. And that is where it all started. And it's an online course, and I will explain more later on. But now I want to talk about prayer. The first thing, what is the meaning of prayer? What is prayer? In Arabic, what is prayer? Don't, you know, what is, yes? Yes, prayer is when you meet with Allah. How do we say prayer in Arabic? Every time I come to High Weekend, I think you are all awliya, saints, sitting here with their bodies and going around the Kaaba. Please come back. Please come back. Okay, there you are. How do we say prayer in Arabic? Only 3 came back. Don't be afraid. Salah, right? Wrong. It's wrong. You know why I'm saying it's wrong? Because the translation of salah is not prayer. We borrow these words from Christian terminology. And prayer in reality, in Christianity, isn't praying like we know. It is supplicating. It is asking, praying, begging. But there is no such a thing as truly praying as we know. So salah, to translate salah into prayer, is falling short. Some Islamic terms can't be translated into another language. This is why Arabic is Arabic. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descend the Quran in Arabic? Qur'anan Arabiyan la'allakum ta'qilun. An Arabic Quran so that you would understand, so that you would use your brain, your mind, your intellect. Salah in the Arabic language means so much more. And I'm going to explain. The first meaning of salah is straightening something. For example, Sallaytul Asa. Nam al-Asa. Al-Asa or al-Asa? Asa. Which means I straightened my stick. Now if you have a stick and you bend it, or you straighten it, if it's made out of iron, you say Sallaytu, it means straightening. The second meaning of salah in the Arabic language means gathering. When you gather something, you call it Sallaytu, I gathered. And another meaning is melting. And another meaning is asking. These are four of the many meanings of the word salah in the Arabic language. So now when we say salah, what do we mean? Well, I am going to straighten myself. Because between prayers, I bend. You know, a bit of haram here, a bit of haram there, a bit of gossip, a bit. So I'm no longer straight, yani, on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. So what now, when I pray, I straighten myself. I rectify my wrongs. Secondly, you gather. Remember, salah is gathering. Because you gather your everything in prayer. Your mind, your heart, your body, your soul, your emotions, your focus, your money, because you leave your money behind you. You are gathering everything. This is why salah is called salah. And you melt away in prayer. And you beg Allah. So when you say salah and you call it prayer, this is where everything goes wrong. Just by calling salah prayer, this is the first reason why we don't focus in prayer. Brother, I'll be right back. I'm just going to pray. Doesn't mean anything. I'm going to pray. Doesn't inspire you with awe, does it? I'm going to pray. But if you say, brother, can you wait? I'm going to melt away. Brother, can you wait? He said, can you wait? I'm going to gather myself in front of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Brother, can you wait? I need to straighten myself because I have so many mistakes, so many sins. I can't get rid of them without standing in front of Allah. I'm going to straighten, I'm going to correct and rectify my shortcomings. If you talk about prayer like that, like this, then your prayer will already be transformative just by understanding the meaning of salah. So this is why it is wrong to call salah prayer. So we're not going to use this anymore. We're going to use salah. I'm not against English language, but I'm against using the wrong terms to reflect something which is very high in standard, which is connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing is layth. That's my song. So the second thing is, oh, I shouldn't have spoken to him now. So the second thing is never connect the words quickly right back to the word salah. Don't do this. You say, I'll be right back. Just go to pray. Be right back. Brother, give me 5 minutes. Just go to pray. SubhanAllah. If you were to be allowed, if people in the world were to be allowed to gather with those who they look up to, being it a Shaykh, being it a movie star, being a sportsman or sportswoman or a woman, if they were to be able to gather with them, they wouldn't say, I'll be right back. Especially not if they have the choice and the opportunity to stay for as long as they wish. Allah doesn't tell you 5 minutes and go. Allah says, my door is open, stay. You're the one that says, I had enough, not Allah. And this is why some scholars say, when you finish your prayer and you say, Astaghfirullah, it's because you are actually leaving a world, the world of prayer. You are leaving a world that you claim wanting to run to, for a world you are claiming wanting to run away from. You see, when you say Salaam Alaikum without a reason, not your wife or your husband waiting for something, not your children, nor a job, nor anything, just, to give salam and watch television, scroll over your phone, or do nothing. Why are you leaving your prayer? This is astaghfirullah, Rabbi. I'm so sorry. I know I claimed that I wanted to connect to you, but here I am, once again, saying farewell and goodbye. So anyway, so it all starts by looking at your prayer looking at a prayer from the right dimension. So here, I want to give you 3 pillars of prayer. How many? 3. MashaAllah, you're here. 3 pillars of prayer. When I say pillars of prayer, I am not referring in any way to fiqh. Because in fiqh, there are more than 3 pillars. So, 3 pillars of prayer that I want to share with you today. The 3 pillars of prayer are meeting, communicating, and enjoying. Who wants to repeat them? 3. MashaAllah, the children are very strong today, as always. Yes.
Meeting.
Yes, meeting. Communicating. You forgot the last one. Enjoying. Meeting, communicating, and enjoying. These 3 things need to be present in each prayer. And we are going to have a look at this. And how are we going to do this? Through the story of Musa alayhi salam. The story of Musa is actually a reflection of how we should feel during our prayers. We said it is meeting. You meet with Allah. Not because you want to, because He wants to. Secondly, it's communication. A 2-way communication and enjoying. This is what we are going to find in the story of Musa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وهل هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى. Has the story of Musa come to you? The first thing you need to know is when Allah asks you a question, it is not for you to say yes or no. Has it come to you? It doesn't mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now wanting for you to say, no, it hasn't. No, it's actually to encourage you. It's a way of encouraging you, wanting to know. So when you want to teach a child, for example, don't force what you want to teach the child on the child, but rather ask questions. Would you like to know why Allah created the trees? Rather than trying to say, I will tell you why Allah created the trees. And they say the best moment where you can educate a child is when a child is asking questions. When it asks a question, Daddy, and very often these can be very strange questions. Daddy, why don't trees grow upside down? Well, you have 2 kinds of parents. One saying, this is nonsense, just think about true things. Or you can actually connect it to something through which the child will be inspired. And then you try to give an answer. Anyway, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى. And He has the story of Musa come to him. Say, tell me, Ya Rabbi, tell me. إِذْ نَادَاهُ رَبُّهُ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nadahu. And the nida is something special. It's usually for someone who you respect or someone you hold very high in esteem. Someone who is elevated in rank. So showing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling Musa, but at the same time He is respecting Musa. Why? Because of the status he has or will have. إِذْ نَادَاهُ رَبُّهُ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. And then I want to go for the one in Taha. وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى إِذْ رَأَى نَارًا فَقَالَ لِأَهْلِهِ امْكُثُوا إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا. I was in another surah. I wanted to go to Surah Taha, so he didn't. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Yani, has the story of Musa come to you? When he saw fire in the mountains, and he saw fire, and he told his family, stay you here. But when you look at the verse, you see that Musa was using the plural. Like, he was using the plural to talk to his wife. They say this shows how much he respected his wife. He was using like you in plural. Anyway, when he saw a fire, he said, wait here, I'm going to look what it is. Maybe I find some guidance. فَلَمَّا أَتَاهَا نُودِيَ يَا مُوسَى إِنِّي أَنَا رَبُّكَ فَاخْلَعْ عَلَيْكَ إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوًى. So here it starts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls him. And this is exactly what is happening when the adhan is made. Musa was called through a fire in a tree to come to meet Allah, and you are being called by the ambassadors who are called mu'adhinun to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is where it starts, and this is the journey I want to take you on now, inshallah. So it all starts with the adhan. When the mu'adhin says Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, the scholars say that the order of the adhan is for a reason. You see, everything which is in the Quran or in the Sunnah, in a particular order, is for a reason. It's not without a reason. So usually the adhan is heard outside. And all of a sudden, try not to talk during the class, please. So when you hear your first Allahu Akbar, it's actually like the first call when you need to step out of your grave. Because you were buried in the dunya, so you need to be revived. This is how Imam al-Ghazali looks at it, radiallahu anhu wa ardahu. So I'm explaining with a bit more detail what Imam al-Ghazali is telling us. So he says, when you hear the call to prayer, you imagine that you are laying down in your grave, waiting to be resurrected. So you hear Allahu Akbar, there you are. And then you have the second, Allahu Akbar. Why? Because human being forgets very quickly. In the adhan, Allahu Akbar, just a minute. No, Allahu Akbar. You don't have any time. And then there's the second, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Very often people say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That's wrong. In many mosques, people say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It's supposed to be with a dhamma. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You see this? So anyway. So you have the second takbir. Why is there the second, the third, and the fourth takbir? It is to tell you that whatever you are doing, Allah is most great. So just let me finish this. I will pray right away. When you say, just let me finish this, you will go to the next, I will finish that. Then it will be the next, then it will be 5 more minutes, and then it's too late. So when this Allahu Akbar, why is it 4 times? How can we, when we hear 4 times, Allah is most great, most important, more important than whatever you are doing, and then we still remain seated. We say, no, just let me finish this Netflix thing. Just let me finish the Champions League until, 45th minute. But then you want to hear the comments as well. And then the second part, then aftermath. SubhanAllah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. When you hear the first Allahu Akbar, you're like the troops, right? Allahu Akbar, I'm ready. This is why some people said, for 30 years the call to prayer was made, and I was ready before the call to prayer was made. 30 years. For 30 years, the adhan went off and he was in the state of wudu. He said, because we want to be ready before we are being called. So now, this is the first thing. Then after the takbir, you have the ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And the reason why in the first shahada is to remind you that you live for Allah. I bear witness that there is no one who has the right to be worshipped. There is no true God apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you are reminded of the reason behind your existence, worship of Allah. Then the second ashhadu an la ilaha illallah is to teach you that you need to have ikhlas. That when you walk to prayer, that you shouldn't do it to boast. So many people, when they pray in the first row for 5 days in a row, and then the 6th day they miss the prayer in the first row, they feel bad. They say, oh, maybe the people will know. Maybe the people will see. Some people, when they miss the prayer with the imam, they're more concerned with what people will think that he is not a good Muslim or she is not a good Muslimah because they missed the prayer with the Imam, then they are that the prayer with the Imam has actually not been granted to them. You see? So you have ikhlas. You come to prayer not for the people, not to show anything. So the first one is to remind you of your reason on the face of the earth. You live for Allah. You die for Allah. The second one is ikhlas. Then you have the first, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and this is to remind you that your methodology, your vision in life is the one that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us. The second, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, is to remind you that you need to pray in accordance to the Sunnah, meaning through ilm. Whatever madhab it may be, it's all Quran and Sunnah. So it's reminding you, I'm not just going to pray in any way I like. I'm going to pray as I have been taught. Look at what the adhan is inspiring us with. You see, first it's telling you Allah is most great. Then it is, shaking you, waking you up. Then the first Shahada of Allah Jalla wa Ala being one is to remind you of your vision. The second one to have ikhlas. The first Ashhadu anna Muhammadan is to what? To tell you that you need to have the vision of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And then the second Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah is to remind you that you need to worship Allah with ilm. So this is what you are being taught during the adhan. And then you have Hayya ala Salah. So what is your sincerity? What is your methodology? What is it what you need to do in life? The first thing is Salah. With Salah everything stands, and without Salah everything falls. And this is why our scholars say that if your Salah isn't strong, that you are neglecting your Salah, then those who love you will start neglecting you. How can you expect people who you love to love you if you haven't given the due to the one who you claim to love more than anybody else? This is why our scholars say, why are you angry when you notice that people don't give you your rights, when you don't give Allah's rights? Do you claim that you are more important than Allah? They didn't call me back. Well, Allah calls us 5 times a day. 5 times a day, come and pray. 5 more minutes, Lord. SubhanAllah. 5 more minutes, Rabbi, I want to finish this here. If your child tells you, you say, come on, son, clean, how do you call it? Clean up the table? You say it like that? Clean up the kitchen? Say, son, clean up the kitchen. Daughter, I don't know. And you say, not now, Dad. 5 more minutes. You say, I call you now. Listen when I call you. Dad, 5 minutes is nothing. Just 5. What are you going to do? Honestly. Don't tell me. SubhanAllah. Sometimes remaining silent is worse than talking, you see. Because if you don't reply, that encompasses everything which it can mean. So, if your daughter or your son were to do this, you wouldn't accept this. So this is why the scholar is saying, why are you accepting to do with Allah what you don't accept from others to do with you? If our friends were to treat us the way that we treat Allah, we wouldn't have any friends anymore. Breaking promises, not praying on time, not listening when He calls us, but then yet, when we ask Him something and He doesn't give it immediately, we say, Rabbi, didn't you tell me in the Quran that whoever asks me, I will give him? And this is why Ibn Ata'illah rahimahullah made it very clear. He says, whenever you are not being given, then don't, it's the meaning of the saying, it's not the literal saying. Then whenever you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you aren't being given what you're asking for, then don't ask the question, why has He not given me anything? But ask yourself the question, why didn't I have the true adab, the true etiquette of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this is why when you ask Allah, don't ask like someone thinking that he or she has the right to command Allah. When you ask, you are not telling Allah what to do, This is how we feel it. Ya Rabbi, and I want this and that and this, and then in detail. No, not 3 of it, but 4. SubhanAllah, is this your bucket list? Like, Rabbi, I want you to do this and that and such and such. It doesn't work like that. When you ask Allah something, it is not because you're telling Him what to do. You are showing Him that you know that He has the power to give it to you. But on the other hand, you are not expecting that He should give it to you. And how do you know whether you were from amongst those who think that they have the right to command Allah, well, when He doesn't give you what you're asking for, that you become angry. You say, Ya Rabbi, why didn't you give it to me? Ya Rabbi, 4 years I've been asking you. Ya Rabbi, those people who wronged me, now 3 years and a half, 4 years, they keep on enjoying their lives, and I'm still, tasting the bitterness of the test they have afflicted me with. Ya Rabbi, why don't you take care of them then? This is how you know. When you start blaming Allah, and watch out, this will kill you spiritually. You see? So now, let us carry on. Then you have the Hayya ala Salah, reminds me Hayya ala Falah. Then there's Hayya ala Falah. Come to success. Very important, pronounce the Ha. A lot of people say Hayya ala Falah. Wrong. There's no Falah. There's Falah. So the Falah is success. You say it twice because it's success in this life and it's success in the hereafter. You see? So Hayya ala Falah. But Ya Rabbi, I have success now. I mean, I'm just selling so good in my shop. I'm doing so well. You want me to pray now? While all the money is coming in, Hayya ala Falah. Yani the second Falah, the Falah in the Akhirah is more important. And believe me, مَنْ تَرَكَ شَيْئًا لِلَّهِ عَوَّدَهُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا مِنْهُ. If someone, said the Prophet ﷺ, leaves something for Allah's sake, Allah will give him better. This is why Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah mentioned in Sirah Alam Nubala that Aisha radiallahu anha, every time when she would be in debt, she would give away 1/10 of the amount that she had to give back. For example, I need to pay someone £100. Then I will now give sadaqah of £10. Because every hasana is multiplied by 10. And this is what she truly believed. When the day came that she had to pay people back, then she would give 1/10 of that amount, and that amount would come the same day. Like Ali radiallahu anhu, when one day he was walking on the street, and he had 10 rumman. Do you know what rumman is? Excuse me? How do you pronounce it? Okay, rumman. So rumman is in Surah Ar-Rahman, right? So it's one of these beautiful, they call the king of fruits, together with, how do you call this? Do we say fig? Yes, and raisins. No, grapes. No, raisins, right? Inab. How do you say this? Grapes, yes. They call this the what? The king of fruits in Arabic at least. So anyway, Allah. So Ali radiallahu anhu was walking down the market, and he had one rumman, and he really wanted it, And he said, oh subhanallah, I really feel like eating it. And a poor man asked him for food. So he gave away the rumman. And then he went home. Then later, someone knocked on his door. And he said, here, you have 9 rumman. Ali radiallahu anhu said, this is impossible. And the man said, why? He said, there must have been 10. Look, their yaqeen, their certitude was so strong. And he said, there must have been 10. And the man wasn't a Muslim who brought it to him. He said, how do you know? He said, well, I was very hungry. I had one in my hand, and I gave it away. And Allah says that if you do a hasana, it will be multiplied by 10. And I don't doubt the words of my Lord. Then this man, you know what he said? He said, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. He became a Muslim on the spot. He said, how did you know? And he said, do you know, I actually received 10. And someone told me, bring it to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And on the way, I said, well, I can ask money because I'm actually transporting it. So I took my share, you see? And that was one man. And he said, but I'm astonished of the fact that you knew it. So he became a Muslim just through the certitude and the yaqeen of our scholars. Do you know that some of the people, and then we carry on, subhanallah, they used to pick the rotten apples in the marketplace like we choose the best apples. When we go to the market, are you looking for the rotten ones that, and the color of which the color has changed a bit? Or are you looking for the most beautiful ones? Tell me. I look for the most beautiful ones. If you are going to tell me you do the opposite, then mashallah, share your story with us. And subhanallah, and the Shaykh used to do this. He used to pick out the rotten ones and leave the good ones. And then his student, who later on became a Shaykh himself, he said, why are you doing this? He said, well, because the trader is my brother. And if I don't take the ones that are a bit rotten, then he won't be able to sell them. And then that will be a loss for him. And if I take the good ones and I have my brethren coming to this market, they won't find the good ones. So I prefer to have it for myself. And the student said, and when then we would go home with the Shaykh, they would taste better than the best ones. SubhanAllah. This is the certitude we have. Assalamu It's very strange. I'm Abu Layth Al-Hanafi. Assalamu alaikum. Shall may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him a scholar and all the children here. A scholar with deeds and sincerity. Ameen. Okay, so we continue. My son is left-handed. Okay, so now Allahu Akbar and then Hayya ala Salat, then again Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. So now what you need to experience, and for the women at home, let your husband, when he's at home, perform the adhan. Loudly. I sometimes forget it when I pray at home as well. I don't always do it. So it's a reminder for myself as well to loudly perform the adhan so that the people in your house also hear the adhan. And if the husband isn't at home, you can have an automatic one or in your phone, whatever. But try to contemplate over the adhan in the way that I just said. And this is your first call to meet Allah. That's what adhan is about. Adhan is a call to prayer, a call to meeting Allah. So now when you walk towards your salah, you are walking towards your meeting with Allah. And this is why our pious predecessors, when they would walk to prayer, they would shiver and shake. They would shiver and shake and tremble. Like the great-grandson of the Prophet ﷺ, his color would change. He would turn pale. And when they would ask him, why is your color changing? He said, because I am about to meet Allah. That is what you're about to do. If you are just going to a job interview, you stress out. Is my beard okay? Oh, this hair here, okay. A bit of cream. Perfume. Does my kufi match my trousers? Or my tie with my suit? Whatever. You're stressed out. Because you are about to meet someone you think to be important. Your livelihood depends on it. So what if you're about to meet the one on whom your eternal livelihood in this world and the hereafter depends? I mean, it's not a simple thing. So now you are revived after your spiritual death and you are walking towards prayer. And this is so important that the Messenger ﷺ said, when you walk towards your prayer, even in your house, the women, when they walk to their musalla, he said, when you walk towards prayer, you are in prayer. What is the Prophet ﷺ teaching us? That you need to walk towards your prayer with humility and dedication and focus. Like if you go to your prayer while you are phoning in the car with your brothers, yeah bro, okay, that's good, all right, how much do you, okay, that's good, 10 o'clock, see you, okay, bye. And then you get into the mosque. There's no preparation. If it's not an urgent phone call, don't call anybody, do some dhikr. Say, Ya Rabbi, please let it be a good prayer, whatever. So you are going to turn your walking towards the prayer like someone who is walking towards the palace of the king. Because that is what the mosque is. The mosque isn't just a place, with four walls. It is Allah's house. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. Allah says the mosques are Allah's. What do you say when you enter the mosque? Tell me. Share it with me. What do you say when you enter your mosque? Go on. You never enter a mosque? Yes, what is that, Habibi? What is it? What do you say? Very, very good. Yes, that's right. Who knows it by heart? And what can we say as well? أعوذ بالله العظيم وبوجهه الكريم وسلطانه القديم من الشيطان الرجيم. So you are referring to the sultana, that Allah is the sultan. So how are you going to enter this house? One of my mashaykh said, if you see me entering into the house of Allah with my left foot, then don't take any advice from me, because then I have disrespected my Lord. So you go into the mosque in awe. This is the palace of my king, where he wants to meet me. So this is the first call. The ambassador of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling you to come. Then when you are in the mosque, you are waiting for the second call, because we will be called twice, isn't it? The first time to come out of our graves, and the second time to come to Allah as an individual. This is the individual call on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yani there are angels who have been created for one thing only, that's to come down on the day of judgment to find you. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, bring me Ahmed, bring me Fatima, bring me Zainab, bring me Sulayman, and he doesn't even use the family name, just the first name. And then the angel knows it's you, because it sees in your eyes that you are the one that needs to be brought forth. So the angels have been, subhanallah, وَجَاءَتْ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَعَهَا سَائِقٌ وَشَهِيدٌ. Every soul will come forward separately with a sa'iq. A sa'iq is like someone pulling you. It is when you have to come as an individual amongst billions of people. This is how you feel after the second call to prayer. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salati, hayya al falah. Maliki Hanafi is different, right? قد قامت الصلاة, قد قامت الصلاة. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. This is when you are called. First, you were all being called to gather. Be gathered together. And the iqamah is your individual call to meet Allah Jalla wa Ala. So when you walk to your place of prayer, this is how you feel. You are being called by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to talk to Him and for Him to talk to you. You see this? Is this clear? What is going through your mind when you hear this explanation? What goes through your mind? No. Do you only have souls? What is going through your soul? Don't you want to share anything? Okay. Then I just continue. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes? Okay. You know, I think it's in Belgium it's different. When you ask people, they answer. No, it's true. And people go like, me. And here it's like nobody wants to answer. And at the very beginning when I was in the UK, I thought that people weren't interested. They're just like, okay, keep on talking, I want to go home. So, but then I understood that it's not common here to reply. I don't know why. What? They're Sufis. What is the meaning of a Sufi, by the way? What is the meaning of a Sufi? You opened it. What's the meaning of a Sufi? Can somebody tell me what's the meaning of a Sufi? Somebody will raise a quote. Well, Imam al-Munawi refutes what you are saying. He actually says in Fayd al-Qadir, he says, لَبَسْتَ السُّوفَ مَرْقُوعًا وَقُلْتَ أَنَا السُّوفِيُّ لَيْسَ كَمَا زَعَمْتَ إِنَّمَا السُّوفِيُّ مَنْ تَصَفَّى مِنَ الْأَيَّامِ وَيْحَكَ لَوْ عَقِلْتَ. Meaning, you put on woolen clothing and you said, here I am the Sufi. It is not like you claim. The Sufi is the one who uses day and night to purify himself. So, yes, anyway. I'm sorry, but there are opinions that refer to what you are saying, that it is because of the suf, the woolen clothing. So you are correct and right. But there is another opinion. Yes?
I've heard that the Sufi is a man of the moment, as in he will do what's required of him or herself in that time towards Allah. What's needed.
SubhanAllah. Well, for me, it's not for someone like me to define what a Sufi is. But I can only say what it's not. Now, as for what it is, that is in need of people who know and who have tasted it, right? So we continue. Can you bring him back, please? Can you do that for me? Because I think he's enjoying himself a little bit much. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. We continue. So the first step is what? The adhan. Now you see how you need to feel. It's like you're being called to be gathered on the Day of Judgment. Then you have the iqamah. And the iqamah is your individual call. Then now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do the takbir. We call this takbiratul ihram because it is actually like putting on an ihram. When you put on your ihram for the Hajj, many things are haram for you. And when you do your takbiratul ihram, you turn things which are halal into haram. Are you allowed to talk during prayer? No. Are you allowed to drink? No. Are you allowed to eat? No. Are you allowed to walk? No, unless it's a prayer during the war, whatever. But in normal situations, you aren't. So now, to come back with your takbiratul ihram. Al-Makki, Abu Talib al-Makki, he clearly said in his Qut al-Qulub that watch out that you don't open your prayer with a lie. Watch out that you do not open your prayer with a lie. They said, how can one open his or her prayer with a lie? He said, by saying Allahu Akbar while your heart is empty of Allah. Because outwardly, everybody's there, looking at you, Allahu Akbar. What are you saying? You are saying something, but you are thinking about someone else. This is not the definition of Allahu Akbar. So be sure, before you say Allahu Akbar, that you are directed with your heart towards the Lord of the Qibla, exactly as you are directed with your body to the house of the Lord. You see? And this is why Imam al-Ghazali is very harsh in this. And he says in his Ihya al-Din, he said, and the scholars of the Akhirah have agreed upon something. There's a consensus. Say consensus? Consensus, like that? Really? MashaAllah. Always correct me, please. When I make a mistake, correct me so that next time I won't do it again. So consensus, right? Just joking. Okay. So there's a consensus, right? So he said amongst the scholars of the hereafter that the prayer of someone with an absent heart, one will not be rewarded for in the hereafter. From a fiqh point of view, he has prayed, but from a spiritual point of view, he hasn't. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. The only ones that will prosper in the hereafter are those who perform their prayers with dedication, awe, and submission and focus. You see this? So this is the first thing. So it's all about the way you prepare for your prayer. So the first thing is Allahu Akbar. When you say this, you really need to clean your heart from everything. Now we have people saying, pronouncing the intention before your prayer is bid'ah. They say, like when you say, oh Allah, nawaitu an usalli, I have the intention to pray 4 rak'at of dhuhr, whatever. They say, at-talaffudu bin-niyati bid'ah. They say, pronouncing out loud, the intention is a bid'ah. We say, within fiqh, there is also the adab. Like we read in the books of Imam Shulbulali, for example, he talks about the sunan of the salah, the wudu, but also about the adab of the wudu, for example. Now the etiquette of the wudu. Very often they say that which they refer to as adab and etiquette is not really that for which one can find a hadith. but it is from an educational point of view. Like, for example, drinking water after having performed wudu, for example. Imam Shulmulay is referring to this. That after you perform your wudu, and you should do it in a vessel, not with the tap water, unless you open it a little bit. And he says, when you have performed your wudu, you drink your water. Is there a dalil for this? No. Is it bid'ah? No. It's not bid'ah. Because it falls under general meanings within our religion. For example, kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu. Eat and drink and do not waste water, for example. And do not waste, in this case, water. So he says, the water that remains, you drink it, but please, not the buckets in the mosque. Right? I mean, when you take these buckets and you stop drinking, they might actually kick you out of the mosque. So it's really referring to these small vessels, or you pour it over the flowers, over the grass, whatever. So not for everything there is a straightforward dalil, but that doesn't mean it's bid'ah. And why are the scholars saying that we need to pronounce the niyyah out loud? Because there's something very dangerous. When you open your prayers, you say Allahu Akbar, and then you say, was it Dhuhr or Asr? Oh, it's Asr. Your prayer is invalid. You can't come up with a niyyah after your takbir. During your takbir or right before your takbir, you should know what you're about to pray. So if you go Allahu Akbar and then you define which prayer you are praying, which fard, well then you need to start all over again. And this is why scholars said, pronounce the niyyah out loud so that you won't forget, to remind yourself. Because the majority of people, when they pray, it's after a very stressy period in life, they just go to the mosque, Allahu Akbar, and oh yes, it's Dhuhr or it's Asr. Clear? Okay. So now we're going to briefly mention some of the things which Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah azza wa jal, mentioned, which I want to cover with you, and then inshallah I will leave you to it and give you some rest. It's very hot, it's Ramadan, inshallah. I don't want to make it too long for you. Is everybody still okay? Yes? On that side as well? Okay, alhamdulillah. So now Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, he gives us 6 steps. 6 steps to create concentration and dedication in our prayers. Okay? I am going to mention a 7th one, which I'm going to mention first. It is the focusing on being focused is the reason why you don't focus. Focusing during prayer on being focused is the reason why you are not being focused. Like people open their prayer and say Allahu Akbar, and it's like they're struggling and looking and going through a jungle to find concentration. Like, where's the concentration? Why is it not happening? Why am I not feeling anything? What is going on? Now, okay, I close my eyes. No. So you're looking for all the means. What you need to know is that concentration will happen when you submit yourself to Allah. Because you can't force Allah to connect to you. Exactly as you can't force yourself to connect to Allah. It's something which Allah makes happen. And as long as we don't understand this, we will never get there. Our mind might be focused, but our soul will not be focused. And there's a very big difference between being connected to Allah with your mind and being connected to Allah with your soul. These are 2 different things. Is that clear for everybody? Okay. Allah. So, don't focus on being focused. The first thing Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah azza wa jal mentions to create this awareness during prayer is presence of heart and mind. Not presence of soul. Presence of heart and mind. What does he mean by this? Meaning that throughout your prayer, from the beginning to the end, you are aware that you are praying. Is that clear? So you don't wander off with your thoughts. I'm not saying that you're already at the stage where you cry and enjoy and where you feel happy. No, just you don't allow your mind to wander off. Okay, that's the first thing. This is the first step we all have to do. Apart from the people who are already flying through the sky. I'm talking about beginners like myself. The first thing, it's in steps. If we do not follow these steps, we will not get there. I mean, We now, people like myself, and maybe some amongst you, we are not ready now to be overwhelmed by the connection to the divine. Imagine that you now, all of a sudden, get this true connection with everything which it entails, with everything it means that Allah, the Creator, the Khaliqul Malikul Allam, connects to you. Allahu Akbar. How are we going to carry this? That now the true connection is established between you and Allah, the Master of the universe. It's like if I have something that, can only take 25 volts, and I put it in 250 volts, well, it will explode. It can't handle it. This is why we need to go step by step. And people saying, tomorrow I want this connection to Allah, I'm going to do the biggest things, the highest things, the most difficult things. Well, very often they fall because they don't want to climb the ladder. And this is why there's a very good book of Ibn Arabi, and it's called Shtranj al-Arifin, check of the Arifin. We say check, playing check, right? Chess. There you go. So playing chess. He says chess strategy of the Arifin. So he made a chessboard, right? And he says if you do this, you go immediately to 23. But if you then do this, you go back to 1. So he designed everything, all the steps you need to take to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is very beautiful. But the first step and the last step, and who am I to say this? To Allah Jalla wa Ala, is our prayer. Without prayer, nothing happens. Okay, so we continue. He says the first thing is, on the first step on the ladder, is that you concentrate with your mind. I am praying. Nothing more. Not to wander off with your thoughts. The Prophet ﷺ said, through Uthman radiallahu anhu, he said, من صلى ركعتين لا يحدث فيهما نفسه غفر الله له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Or he said in the entire narration, من توضأ نحو وضوء هذا ثم صلى ركعتين لا يحدث فيهما نفسه غفر الله له ما تقدم من ذنبه. He said, when someone performs the wudu like I do, and then prays 2 rak'at without wandering off with his thoughts, all of his or her previous sins will be forgiven. One prayer of 2 rak'at where you don't wander off with your thoughts. You know what the problem is? Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah mentions that once he read a hadith that if someone doesn't say something bad during 40 days, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant him hikmah. Or that if someone prays so many days in a row, Allah will grant him hikmah. It was a hadith. Anyway, I forgot for the moment, subhanAllah. Anyway, if somebody knows, remind me. And then he prayed these prayers, like if you pray this amount of prayers without wandering off, Allah will give you hikmah. After 40 days, he went to his Shaykh. And he said, Shaykh, for 40 days, I haven't been wandering off with my mind during prayer. But I still don't see that Allah has given me hikmah. What I want to tell you first, Imam al-Ghazali said, saying of himself that he doesn't have hikmah. I mean, read his books. But anyway, that's how he felt. Exactly like Imam Shafi'i felt that his memorization was very weak. You know, Imam Shafi'i, when he had to memorize, there were 2 pages. He had to cover 1 page. Because if he wouldn't cover it, he would memorize it. This is how strong his memorization was. So he would cover 1 page and look at 1 page. He would only, and then at the end, he didn't like to go to the market anymore, because he would memorize every poem which was said, on the market. So he would cover his ears, because he didn't want to memorize everything which the poets were saying. So شكوت إلى وكيعي سوء حفظي فأرشدني إلى ترك المعاصي وقال اعلم أن العلم نور ونور الله لا يهدى. In the narration, لا يعطى لعاصي. I complained to my Shaykh about my bad memorization. And he said, know that, subhanAllah, knowledge is the light of Allah, and the light of Allah is not given to a rebel. So anyway, that's the first thing we are going to do. The first thing is we are going to concentrate on this is prayer, nothing more. We're going to start right before prayer and during prayer. That's step number one. Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah says, if you were able to do this, this can be after a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks. What I'm saying here is for everybody feeling that they are suffering from a prayer wherein they don't connect to Allah. So if that's you, then listen very carefully, because this can be your key to that. So after that he says, now there is al-huduru ma'al ma'ani. He says, now what you need to do, after you were able to remain with your mind in prayer, you need to understand what you are saying. So the first step, do this, concentrate, I am praying, praying, know my mind, don't think about anything else. When you're able to do this, you go to step number 2. You are going to understand what you are saying. So you are not going to allow yourself that to say something in prayer which you don't understand. Is that clear? So when you say Subhan Rabbil Azim, you are present with its meaning. You say Allahu Akbar, you think, okay, I'm saying Allahu Akbar. Allah is most great. That's what I'm saying. Presence of mind also in what? In the reading of the Quran. And that's the step of understanding. Being present is the personalization of Surah Al-Fatiha. The personalization of Surah Al-Fatiha. What do I mean? You know, Fatiha is always the same for us. We read it, but what does it change in our lives? Every time we read Surah Al-Fatiha, we should be transformed through it. Why do we have to say 17 times a day, unless we are Hanafi 20? Why do we say 17 or 20 times a day, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen? Why? Just for the sake of saying it. What has happened? What did you take away from Al-Fatiha? You're saying Al-Fatiha for 20 years now, or more or less. When did you say, okay, I understood it now? SubhanAllah, that's incredible. So now, Surah Al-Fatiha, you are going to personalize it. When you say Allahu Akbar and you read Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, you are going to connect the hamd to something which is happening in your life, to something that you feel that you need to love Allah for. You are going to connect it. The same after prayer. When we say SubhanAllah, 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 Alhamdulillah, what are we saying? In Arabic, laham means meat. When you go quickly, you're saying meat. And it's not meat, M-E-E-T that you are saying M-E-A-T. Now, if it were only meat to meet Allah, it would be good. But you're talking about meat. SubhanAllah. So, think about what you say. Al-huduru ma'al ma'ani wat-tafahum. You stand still. You ponder over what you are saying. The same with Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. How did Allah show mercy to me? Or how did He, Jalla wa Ala, show me that He is merciful through someone else? Maliki Yawmiddin, you think about your sins. That you are going back to Allah Jalla wa Ala. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. Where do you fall short when you say this? Oh Allah, help me to worship you. Well, if you say it without thinking about something, well, a parrot can do exactly the same thing. If you say 17 times a day next to a parrot, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een, it will say the same thing. But nothing will happen. Because it's said without a heart. So when you say Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een, you think about the forms of worship that you fall short in or at. And the things that you want Allah to help you with. Sometimes, subhanAllah, you want to do something, it doesn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Well, because you didn't say Iyaka nasta'een while thinking about it. Maybe now in prayer, that thing that you want to do already for years now, like memorization of the Quran, did you ever connect it to Allah in your prayer? When you said Iyaka nasta'een, that you said, oh Allah, help me memorizing the Quran. Or you see that you're short-tempered, you know, that you become angry very quickly. You say Iyaka nasta'een, oh Allah, help me, so that I can keep my cool and that I don't become angry very quickly. We don't do this. Surah Al-Fatiha is a treasure. if we connect it to our life, then after every Fatiha, we will see miracles. And the biggest miracle will be us being transformed through Surah Al-Fatiha. But to be quite frank today, one of the scholars was very right when he said, ما رأيت حاضرا كغائب كالقرآن أو ما رأيت حاضرا أشبه بغائب من القرآن. I have never seen anything as present, resembling something as absent as the Quran. I have never seen something as present but yet as absent as the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ, you know what he will say on the Day of Judgment? Allah mentioned it in the Quran. He said, Ya Rabbi, inna qawmi takhadu hadha al-Qur'ana mahjura. He will complain to Allah. He will say, Oh Allah, Rabbi. And when prophets say Rabbi, it's like either to complain about their qawm, about their people, or either to beg. So here he is complaining, Rabbi, my Lord, inna qawmi takhadu hadha al-Qur'ana mahjura. My people, my community, they migrated far away from the Quran. Quran is everywhere. Each house, even in the mosques, they're no longer respected. A piece of paper there, a piece of paper here, Anyway, they're even on the floor. Like in a cupboard, Ya Rabbi, in a cupboard, you never put the Quran at the height of your feet. SubhanAllah. Some people even they have stairs and they have like Quran on the wall, but when you walk and you go up at a certain moment, the Quran will be right below your feet. People don't think about this. The leader, the founder of the Ottoman Empire once wasn't able to sleep and lay down in his bed because there was Quran on the wall. He stood straight during all night. The founder of the Ottoman Empire, right? He was there, Quran on the wall. They said, didn't you sleep? He stood up all night like this, like a soldier in front of the general. They said, didn't you sleep? He says, how can I sleep when my Lord is talking to me? How can I sleep? Now you come to people, you tell them, don't put the Quran on the ground. Say, what's your daleel? What's your daleel? Is this in need of a straightforward daleel? So now, respect the Quran. على قدر تعظيمك القرآن يعظمك القرآن. In harmony with your respect to the Quran will respect you. How? By allowing you to memorize the Quran. By allowing you to act upon the Quran. By allowing you to read the Quran up to perfection. By allowing you to be transformed through its light. If prayer and Quran don't change you, nothing will. You can look everywhere. Go to any valley and try and knock on every door. Quran and the Salah are what are the true transformers. Yes, and transformers. So now, they are the true transformers. Yes. Allah. So we continue. So you say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Think about it. إِهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمُ. What is إِهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمُ? Once again, you say, Rabbi, guide me, guide me, guide me. But if you don't have knowledge of guidance, how are you going to know whether you're guided or not? You say, oh Allah, guide me. How do you know whether you're guided? If you don't know how to distinguish between being astray or being misled or having a correct aqidah or a false aqidah, a correct fiqh or a false fiqh, a correct tasawwuf or tarbiyah and a false one, how then are you going to ask Allah something you don't have any knowledge of? It's like playing around. Like, okay, guide me, Rabbi, but then you don't know what guidance is. So, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim is also very strong. You are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show you the way. There are so many opinions. There are so many things to know. You are asking Allah, show me that which I need. Then, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِينَ. The maghdubi alayhim are the ones that have knowledge but no action. And the daleen are the ones that have no knowledge but good actions. Their actions are not accepted because they didn't build their actions on knowledge. So the Sirat al-Mustaqim is a path of knowledge and deeds. A path of knowledge and action. And if we today, our focus is on knowledge. SubhanAllah, our focus is on knowledge. Yesterday, I read a manuscript, and SubhanAllah, the author, he made a point very clear. He says, when you talk about religion, and about night prayer, and about, tears and fears, but you don't experience it when you're alone, know that you are Shaitan's friend. But you are led astray by Shaitan. Talking about religion, like I do, for example, if everything I'm saying is not present, or I don't try to live up to it, then I'm actually not more than a munafiq. I will be the first one to be asked about what I'm talking about, right? So, knowledge without deeds is a spiritual killer. It will strangle you, and you will be buried. Your soul will be buried in your body before you are even dead. And this is why Imam al-Qurtubi, rahimahullah, mentioned in his tafsir. Imam al-Qurtubi, rahimahullah, mentioned in his tafsir, وَأَجْسَامُهُمْ لِأَرْوَاحِهِمْ قَبْلَ الْقُبُورِ قُبُورُ. Their bodies are coffins for their souls even before their bodies are buried. We continue. So, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And then at the end we say Ameen. What is the meaning of Ameen? Yes.
It's like the word finish off your prayer and say, my mom told me that.
Khayyam, do you have a small present to give our friend here, because he was very eager and he has very, very good replies, mashallah.
He's very good. We're trying to be less eager.
Really? I will try to be even more eager, inshallah. Okay, yes, please.
I mean, it's what we need to close the door.
That's true. That's all very true. But what does it mean? Someone knows, you don't have to tell me. Just show me if you know. What's the meaning of Ameen? Yes?
Please accept.
Yes, who said this? Who told you? You did. You did? Okay. Raise your hand, the one who told you. MashaAllah. Would you like to explain here what Ameen means? No. He's right. Ameen means, oh Allah, accept. No? And Ameen, there are more than 4 ways to say Ameen. No, so I'm not going to mention them all. So it's either Ameen, it's Ameen, or it's Ameen, or it's Ameen, and like that. There are many ways to say it. Just say it in the way you always say it. Don't confuse people. Okay. And the one who wants to know more about this, maybe look at the tafsir of Ibn Kathir. Okay, we continue. So what was the first step? Now I need your reply. 1, 2, 3. What was the first step to improve your prayer? 1. Yes, that's good. That was the first one of Al-Ghazali. But I mentioned one from my own. Which, yes, very good. Like the sister said, 1, focus. Don't focus on focus. Then she said 2. What was the second one? Presence of heart and mind. Third one? Understanding. Not to say anything without knowing what you are saying. This brings us to an important point. How will you understand correctly the surah you are reading? Please, don't say surahs. Say surah. 1 surah, and then suratan. Surah is the plural. Don't say sahabas. Say sahaba. 1 sahabi, 2, and many sahaba. So you're making a plural of something which is already a plural. At least say sahabis then. But don't. No, Arabic is Arabic. I mean, Muslims are already experiencing problems with Arabic. So we are now going to make it even more difficult by transforming Arabic words into English plurals. That doesn't work. So we have surah and surah. We have sahabi and sahaba. We have Quran and Quran. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Allah. You know, our scholars, this is just to come at rest and then we continue. Do you know that many of our scholars said that writing the Quran in Latin is haram? Like you write Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, ALHAMD. Yes? You, Lillahi. Because in reality, what you are doing, you're not teaching people anything. Believe me, I'm a convert. But I immediately learned it in Arabic. But I saw so many converts, when they read it, you are actually transforming the Quran into a new language. People will read it and say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. They don't know what the ayn is. They don't know what the ha is. Yes, a ha, then they say ha is with a line under the H. What do they know? A U, a kha, a qaf. So many scholars said that writing the Quran in Latin letters is haram. And I'm of that opinion. I'm not very strict, but when it comes down to Quran, I'm quite strict. So we teach people by memorization, or we teach people orally, like our predecessors used to do. And you are not helping people by learning, teaching them Quran through this Latin, way of pronouncing the Quran. Because you know what the biggest problem is? When children learn how to pronounce something in a wrong way when they're small, it's almost impossible to get rid of that mistake when they are adults. And very often I have students that come to me, it takes them months and months to get rid of a wrong pronunciation. Why? Because the way they were taught wasn't correct. And this is why I believe that whenever we teach children the Quran, pronunciation is so important. I went to some of the mosques and I sat with the children here in the UK, and they are not corrected. Like the kha, the qaf, they don't pronounce it correctly, no problem. We will teach them later. Why? SubhanAllah. It is not correct, because this is al-lahnu al-jali, meaning it is a big mistake when you don't pronounce the letters from the Quran in a correct way. Anyway, so this brings us to the part, you will need a tafsir for you to understand the chapters you are reading during your prayer. Now, which tafsir are we going to use? There are so many tafsir. And as we will see, inshallah, when I will start teaching here, then we will go over the different kinds of tafsir. Tafsir al-lughawiyya, al-fiqhiyya, al-aqadiyya, and so much more. Al-balaghiyya. But which tafsir are you going to use? The first thing which I memorized when I was memorizing Quran, I was memorizing the words at the same time. And that was from Kalimat al-Quran from Shaykh Makhluf. So it's an Azhari. So just word explanation. You don't need more. The first thing you need to do when you learn tafsir is not to go over these large explanations. You just want to understand the word you are saying. Or the Jalalain of Imam Suyuti and the other Jalal ad-Din. So you are going to, all the chapters you memorize, you are going to learn what it means. Like when I say, ما كسب, ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب. What's the meaning of kasab? You see? وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. What's the meaning? What did I say? وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. Who memorizes وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا? Raise your hand. Men and women. وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا. 1, 2, 3. Is that really all? Okay. What is the meaning of وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا? Yes.
It's by the sound the horses make when they're really, really fast.
And فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا.
Gobble.
فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا.
The sparks flying from.
Khalas. He deserves a present as well. You have another one, mashallah. So in general, when people memorize something, they don't memorize, mashallah, what is it? Prayer book. Mashallah. Mashallah. Mubarak. What prayer book is it?
It's just a translation of the prayer into English.
But from which book is it?
It's just a collect. I'll explain it.
Okay, good. Is it yours? No. Okay. Okay, alhamdulillah, we continue. So the first thing, don't focus on focus. Second step, don't wander off with your thoughts. Third step, know what you are saying. Choose the tafsir you like so that you know what you are reading in your prayer. Then Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, he says, the next step is creating awareness that you stand in front of Allah. And he says the first steps will lead to this. That you say, I am in front of Allah Jalla wa Ala. So that's the next step. And then he says, there is awe and hope and shame. Awe, you know what awe means? And hope. He says, why hope? Because regardless of our mistakes and shortcomings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nevertheless chose us to pray for Him, to connect to Him. You see this? Like if we, subhanAllah, look at ourselves, we know what our shortcomings are. So we don't pray because we deserve to pray. So this is the first thing we need to know. You don't pray because you deserve to pray. You don't pray because you are good. And you are not good because you pray. You pray because Allah wants to meet you. Because He is good. Is the difference clear? And this is why Ibn al-Jawzi rahimahullah said that our predecessors would sometimes used to cry when thinking that for the same amount of money, they wouldn't have existed. And they said, and not existing would have meant not knowing Allah. And the most beautiful thing on the face of the earth is knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because Allah, the knowledge of Allah is never ending, it's limitless, Allah has created a never ending world. Why is Jannah created? Jannah is created because Allah wants us to continue to get to know Him forever and ever. This is how beautiful He is, how majestic He is, that Jannah is forever. And sometimes people say, but won't it be boring? Well, in Jannah, you will get to know Allah every second more and more. So there is no point in Jannah where you say, I have already seen this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Khallaq. And al-Khallaq means He can create new things all time, every time. The colors we know here are not the colors we know there. Even the shapes we know here. What kinds of shapes do we know? A straight line, a bent line, and a circle. Subhanallah, this is how smart we are. We can only think about shapes. Either they are created out of lines, like a triangle, like a rectangle, like a cube. MashaAllah. We're smart. Or we have a circle, or we have, how do you call this? What's that? It's not a circle, but it's oval. Trapezium, this one, that one. And that's it. Allah has blocked our minds so that we can't possibly think of other shapes, so that He would show us the shapes He knows to create in Al-Akhirah. Colors that we can't think of. We have primary colors and secondary colors, and when you mix them, you have another color. But subhanAllah, you know what is strange? This doesn't make sense. When I open, the seed of a flower, I open it, there's no paint. There's no paint. You open it, it's empty. There's nothing in it. No color, no paint, nothing. You put it in the soil, and there it is. It appears pink and red and blue and all these colors. But who mixed the primary colors to get the secondary color? No one. Well, this is what they teach us. To get a color, you are in need of colors. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created things without color. Now, this is a Bedouin approach. Scientifically, there are so many things we can say, but science is just showing us what is happening, but it's not talking about the one that makes it happen, Allah. The same thing, when you look at the sky, it's blue. Usually, when you want a color, you are in need of a surface to show the color. Because otherwise, there's no color. You need a surface. But there we are, it's blue, but when I pass it, it's nothing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us colors without paint, without surface, without anything. It's just there. Because He's a Musawwir al-Khallaq subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to come back, barakallahu fikum, the hope is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen us to pray, even though that we fall short so many times, so often. So and then He says at the end, there is being shy, that you are shied away of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being so good to you while you are, or I am, falling short. And this is the haya. He says this is the last part in your prayer where you actually melt away in shame. That you are talking to him, promising him things which you know that you will most likely not be holding on to. In very brief, these were some of the things I wanted to mention, and there are so many different things. As for this year, the project that you see behind me, well, we are going over prayer. It's an online course. There are 2 courses. And the reason why I am inviting towards these courses is not because it's making money. There are courses that one pays for, they don't go to my pocket, they go to the project of establishing prayer. My goal is to inshallah form prayer coaches so that they can go to different mosques, different places in the world to teach people how to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through prayer. And doing this and having a site, having to pay people, I have a part of the course which is paid for and another part which is for free. So you can subscribe to either one of them. The paid course is, inshallah, I hope, very professional. It's created by professional people. And it's like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Then you go over it. Then you have questions you need to answer. And then you continue. So it's with an interface, a design, and so much more. And the free courses as well. You can just subscribe to the site itself. And I am looking for people who later on want to help in this project to become prayer coaches. So you need to go through the course with me here or wherever we may do it, inshallah. And then bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want to establish this vision of prayer. It's a whole concept. You will see when you follow the classes, which we want to also spread in Africa. We want to spread it in China. We want to, take the people on this journey. Because prayer is the most important thing. Never forget this. If you are dreaming of very high, elevated spiritual states, but not thinking that it is through your prayer, then shaitan has misguided you. If you don't connect to Allah through prayer, you will not ever connect to Him through anything else. That is the place where it happens. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this beneficial. The name of the site, Barakallahu Fikum, is 5times.org. Very easy. 5 times, not with a 5, but just with the word 5. So it's 5times.org. I would appreciate it if you go and you subscribe, not for the paid one, for the other one, so that we can share with you as well all the things we are doing, to share with you, bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our future projects, inshallah, with regards to prayer. I would also like to ask you to, inshallah, make dua that it works, that you spread the word, so that we, inshallah, will have an ummah that is connected to Allah through prayer. And I end with a hadith of a man coming to the Prophet ﷺ saying, Ya Rasulullah, this man is a thief during the day and he prays during the night. The Prophet ﷺ, look, a thief during the day and he prays during the night prayer. The Prophet ﷺ said, eventually his night prayer will stop him from stealing. So if you are coping with any sin, flaw, or shortcoming, it is through your established prayer that you will be transformed. Bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask Allah to make this beneficial. For people who want to leave a name or their email or they want to do it on the site, these are some sheets where you can share it so we can add you, inshallah, without sharing it ever to anybody else. This will be private. It will not be to bother you. It will be to share with you, inshallah. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. If you have any questions, please ask me. And inshallah, after Ramadan, the program and everything will be made known to you. We will have a lot of classes going on. And I'm very happy. And this is, in Arabic, they call this a tawqidul lafdi. I'm very, very happy and honored that I can be a part of the people who teach for Kalima Foundation. And I truly mean this. And even though I'm coming from Kingston, subhanAllah, these 40 minutes or this 1 hour is like nothing, because I know what kind of people are waiting for me. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, Jazakallah khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your Siyam, your Qiyam. And may He, inshallah, make us of the true scholars with a state of mind, state of heart, state of soul, and with actions. La ilaha illa anta ya Rabbi, subhanaka inni kuntu minal zalimin. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
مدد المداد يا الله اسقنا